it's me again. So I'm going to do a little bit of potting on, and I wanted to have a little chat about the reasons why we pot on. So I have here some of those lipsticks that I grew in the tray. As you see, they're getting a bit bigger now. We've got 2 in one cell there on a couple. If I didn't pot these on, they would grow together as one root ball, which would make it a little bit harder to pot them on later. With these, it's a similar sort of deal. They're getting to the point now where the roots aren't quite coming through the bottom. I'd rather that they were a bit more mature to show you, but really you're looking for when the roots come through the bottom, then it's time to pot it on. Now the reason why potting on is essential is if we were to leave this plant in this little pot, we wouldn't expect a big plant, would we? No, because the plant will grow in proportion to the pot, and it won't get a lot of nutrients from that, so we'd have to feed it an awful lot in order for it to grow. If we did leave it in the pot, it's likely that the roots would grow very compact, and you'd end up having a forced plant. If you look at the announcements at the top of the page, you'll find examples of plants that have been kept in smaller pots, and you can see what happens. But basically they will make fruit a lot quicker, and you'll end up with a much smaller plant if you don't pot them on. I've seen some interesting posts from people who are thinking about putting multiple plants in one container. That's a good idea, but try and make it a decent sized container, otherwise you'll end up with smaller plants because they'll all be forced. So yeah, the only product that I do recommend that everybody get is pots, because if you don't pot on, or if you jump too quickly in a pot size, it can drastically affect the size and quality of your plants. And it's technique, it's less product and more technique that is the issue there. The whole potting on method is used by a variety of different gardeners growing a variety of different things, and it basically means that the pot and the roots and plant grow at a similar rate, that you're not ending up with a huge root ball and a tiny little plant, or you know, it grows in proportion, it's balanced, and you want to keep encouraging that plant to grow. So by giving it a slightly bigger pot at a time, it will encourage the plant to grow gradually, rather than forcing it to either fruit early or making it grow its roots forever, and so you end up not getting any fruit. But there we have it. So I'm going to do a bit of potting on. I've washed my pots. I've got some perlite here, and I thought I'd do some with perlite and some without. You don't have to use perlite or anything in your pots at all if you don't want to, but I'm going to add a little bit today just to show willing. I'm just going to put a couple of handfuls in. I'm not going to measure it in any way. They say 10% of the mixture. That looks all right to me. Just mix it in a bit. I'm breaking up all the lumps in there, because tomato grow bag mud does tend to be lumpy. And as you all know, I'm using the tomato grow bag mud this year to show you all that, you know, it can be done. There we go, using cheaper products. So just make a little, try and make a bit of space in there. So I'm going to tip this one out and see if we can spot the root ball in there. There's the roots. There we go. It's coming through to the bottom now. There's one there. So we'll pop him in here, give him a new home, and keep him growing on. But yeah, technique is important with growing chilies as much as anything. And yeah, the nutrients are important within the soil, and each one will have different properties, so it's worth checking them out if you need to. But you can ask people, if you ask people what products they use, ask them why, because there'll probably be a reason why a certain person likes that product. Let's check out this one. Yeah, there we go. There's roots coming through the bottom there. Pop them in there. And so gradually throughout the season, I'll step up the pots so they get bigger and bigger until they go into their final pot, and the roots will not find it so difficult to grow and expand because of that. There we go. And with the tray, let's have a looky in here. Right, this might be a bit slightly harder for me to get out to show you. So I can use a tag just to get him out of there. Oh goodness. How about a spoon? That's better. There you go. Right, there we go. They haven't grown together, which is a bonus. You can see that root is getting long there, so it needs potting on. But yeah, if they're competing with each other too much, you end up with smaller plants. But I've done a variety of experiments myself over the years using different size pots, and just for my own benefit, for my own curiosity. So I've done a lot of learning by trial and error. And the biggest secret about growing decent plants for me isn't about the products that you use in terms of the soil or the food or anything of that degree. The biggest thing I find in getting good plants is potting on. And it's a basic thing, but I think people don't realise how effective it can be, or the consequences of not doing so, or doing so too soon or to a big pot, that the consequences that can happen to your plants. So just so that we're all aware. So yeah, I may come across as the pot police. I don't mean to, but it is important, you see, because it will make or break you. There we go. Right, so I need to label those up now, and so I know what I've got. But there you go. That's potting on, when to do it and why.